Hello, I'm interviewing Graham today in a slightly different way from usual. What most people don't know, perhaps, is that Graham has a role elsewhere beyond what we do, a part time role that gives him really interesting insights, and he's able to talk to people, members of the public, about things that really interest us, health related matters, and to try helping them with solutions. So I wanted him to tell us a little bit about, first of all, what it is that you see when you see these members of the public, these customers as they are effectively. What is it that they're coming to talk to you about?
Oh gosh, it's a whole diverse range of kind of conditions really. It can be anything from sleep disorders, so just not able to sleep, insomnia, anxiety, low mood, mild depression, digestive issues, kind of bloating, and it could be also just joint pain for whatever reason, low energy, fatigue, particularly tiredness and fatigue, very common, and a lot of women who come in with suffering from pretty debilitating menopause symptoms. So it's really a wide range of the kind of common conditions that most people tend to suffer from at some point.
Mm-hmm. And do you see any common threads amongst all this? Because they sound very diverse, but is there anything that or factors, maybe more than one, that bring them together?
There actually are some pretty common elements. So, for example, one of the things that seems to be the case with so many people I see is they're just under stress. Their lifestyles they're very busy. They seem to work long hours. They feel under pressure, and it even goes down the age range as well. And that's one thing that I've really noticed, and it's quite an eye opener that there's a lot of young people who are suffering from those stress symptoms because they feel under pressure at school. Maybe they're coming up to exam time, and then a lot of students who are feeling the pressure. And obviously it goes through the whole age range, people working long hours in their jobs, doing shift work, maybe lots of responsibility or caring for people, a lot of carers who are under pressure, under stress, because that can be a pretty lonely job. And just really just running themselves down, but also not really having the time to take care of themselves. Mm-hmm. So kind of like pushing that out of arm's reach and just barely managing, and not really eating as well as they could or should do. So diet is a huge issue. Right. And I think that to me that's an area that I feel personally very passionate about, and I think that that's an area that I can really help them to work on as well.
Okay, so if they need to work individually on diet, whose fault it is? Is it, and who should be responsible for the solution if diet is indeed a problem, which we know it is?
I would never say it's someone's fault in terms of diet, because I don't think that we can kind of like beat people up for maybe not eating as well as they could do, because there are so many different factors in that. It may be just kind of feeling overwhelmed because of the pressures. It may be just a lack of sufficient knowledge and information about what constitutes a healthy diet, because we get so many mixed messages today. And the food industry also really exploits people in terms of how they lure us and entice us to eat certain foods, and that's not really the individual's fault. They're just, in a sense, they're a victim in that. But I would never blame someone. I think they can take responsibility for it, but they need to feel empowered to do that, to have the knowledge.
So do we need to each be taking responsibility, or should there be something bigger that also plays a role in that?
I think that obviously taking responsibility is one element, but some people are just not in that position where they're either ready to do that or able to do that. I think we also, in a sense, we need to regulate the food industry more. We need to ensure that that advertising the unhealthy foods is limited, and that's particularly down the age range again, where the young people are really enticed from the very outset about what they can eat and or not what they can eat, but what is available. And it's those things as well. Those high fat, high sugar, or high salt snacks often, which people crave, and which kind of form that's what we want more of all the time. And those things really, I think, could be eradicated, or at least minimised, so that people then get more of an idea as to what is healthy.
Any idea how that could happen? Because I certainly haven't.
No, I mean, that's a massive undertaking, and obviously that's a societal thing. And I know there is some work going on in I think Denmark, for example. I think they were the ones that first introduced the sugar tax, for example. But a lot of people will argue about that and say it's a tax on the poor and that kind of thing. So it's an area that's really very problematic. I think, unfortunately, it's part of modern life that we've kind of lost touch with our food, and and that's what's causing a lot of the lifestyle problems today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, what do you see as the most exciting part of your role? What is it that you most enjoy about what you do?
I love being able to help people. I love being able to inspire people to make different choices. I love being able to point them to possible solutions to the issues that they have. I mean, obviously, I'm not medically qualified. I don't go out and say that, I know that this is going to definitely resolve the issue. But you begin to build up a kind of like you do build up a confidence in certain things are going to help them to get back to where they need to be. And that's where hopefully I can just maybe sometimes nudge people in the right direction and inspire them, particularly where food is concerned, just inspire them that eating healthy doesn't have to be boring. It can be actually really, really exciting.
If it's a non-medical issue, which according to Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, the TB doctor that we've come to know, 80% of what people are suffering these days and come to his surgery with are lifestyle related and therefore not best served by medication. So is that the case? And if so, does it matter that you're as you say, not a doctor, and because doctors, in my experience, are not really prescribing food?
It's an interesting one, that, because I know that 80% figure that you quoted, that is something that's been mentioned quite a lot recently, and I'm really excited about this kind of lifestyle medicine approach and looking at the whole person and looking at ways other than going down the drug route. And that's one thing I do see a lot of in the people I talk to, that they complain about the fact that they've seen the doctor, the doctors are busy, they haven't really completely understood the issue, and they send them away with a drug, with a medicine that only addresses the symptoms. It doesn't look at the underlying causes, and they can cause knock-on problems. So, for example, one of the things that a lot of people seem to be being prescribed today are the so-called proton pump inhibitors, which help people that have an excess of stomach acid, which can be dangerous. I mean, it's not good to have your stomach lining being kind of corroded by stomach acid, and these proton pump inhibitors, so-called, help to protect the stomach lining, but they also cause other problems, especially if used over the long term, and they can cause issues with the absorption of certain nutrients like vitamin B12, for example, and iron. So people come in and see me, and they say that they're feeling a lack of energy, they're tired, and they can't understand why. And then when you ask them more questions and find out about their personal situation, you find out that they're on these proton pump inhibitors, and then you think, that's interesting. Maybe they're deficient in B12 and iron because of that. So in situations like that, at least you can look at the possible causes, and then you can maybe get them to discuss it with their GP, go back and see if there's something different that they can do. Yeah. So I find that exciting.
Yeah. And you've also raised another issue, which I think is something that's quite poorly understood, alongside knowing what things we perhaps could be eating for better health and leaving behind a little more for also for better health. There's the whole issue of what we're absorbing that I don't think is very well understood. And you've already said that proton pump inhibitors are seemingly quite widely prescribed from what we can tell.
Yeah, surprisingly so.
So that's one factor. Are there other factors that interfere with absorption that might help people to actually understand why it is that nutrients aren't getting inside them, and therefore that it's having an overall impact on their health?
Yes, definitely. I think a lot of people that coming in with digestive issues where they're not absorbing the nutrients for whatever reason. I mean, they may have an underlying condition like something like Crohn's disease, for example, or some kind of like leaky gut, and they've got this inflammation going on in their stomach, in their gut, which is then causing the issues with being able to absorb the nutrients. Allergies, intolerances, food allergies, that is also, if you've got something that's creating a problem for you, then it's kind of your body is telling you perhaps you need to eradicate that from your diet, eliminate it from your diet. So, it could be, for example, dairy, it could be wheat or gluten. And those are areas where they're quite emotive areas, because people suddenly finding out that they might have an issue with dairy and they've had it all their life, they don't want to envisage life without it, and I can understand that. It can be quite scary, and therefore it's about knowing, it's about actually then being able to do something informed about it. Quite interestingly as well, the whole issue about the proton pump inhibitors is that some people are actually prescribed those in the first place because they're taking certain medications which actually cause the problem. So they're then given another medication to deal with that, and so on. So it's a really tricky area.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell us, as a kind of a way of rounding up, really, one area or one type of experience that you've enjoyed that's meaningful to you, because you have these quite often, and what sort of things make your heart sing when you've finished?
I always find it I really enjoy I do enjoy it, even though sometimes the actual person I'm talking to, for them the whole experience is pretty scary because they've come in because they have an issue. But there was one particular young lady who I think she was around 16, and she came in with her parents, and she looked as white as a sheet. She was like, and she looked she just looked scared, and her parents explained to me that she was suffering from acute anxiety. She was having issues at school. She felt that she was going to fail all her exams, and it got to the point where she actually was barely able to get out of the house, and she got so anxious that she was projectile vomiting. And it was amazing that to see her in the store that day, actually, be brave enough to come in and actually discuss it. As I was talking to her parents, I thought, I kind of felt, God, I feel I've got quite a responsibility here, because what I say in this 10 or 15 minutes, that I'm speaking to, or longer, which sometimes I speak longer, this could have a real bearing on what happens next. So I basically just listened to her, chatted to her about how she was feeling. I also recognised some of the symptoms from what I'd had when I was younger, and how I told her how I dealt with it, and I just gave her some pointers, and I just said that it's what you're feeling is very common, but I know for you it seems like it's kind of like you can barely cope with it, and I recommended one or two things that she could do, and I actually suggested meditation, and I think I recommended the checking out the Headspace app, just to help her to kind of calm down. I also remember telling her that when she feels really nervous and anxious, just tell yourself that actually I'm feeling really excited. And just to kind of reframe in her mind that, rather than correlate it with something that's negative.
Because they're very similar feelings.
And I'd kind of heard about that from somewhere else, and I tried that, and she kind of laughed when I said that, which was quite nice. And yeah, and that was it really, and also some breathing exercises,
Yeah.
just suggestive
Things you
about
can do
breathing slowly through the nose
straight
and
away.
exhaling slowly through the mouth, etc., just to calm you down. And it was really nice because the next day she sent an email just to thank me for listening to her and spending time with her, and said that it was the first time she'd felt that someone had actually understood her issue. And that was so nice to hear. And
Yes.
I never heard any more, but I just often think about her and think, I wonder how she's doing, and I wonder if it did actually resolve the problem. And to me,
Or
that's
set something in motion.
or set something in motion.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I know her parents felt much happier as well. So maybe it gave them some strategies as well that they could use with her. So yeah, that's kind of what gets me out of bed in the morning, doing things like that.
Oh, that's good. And just the real final question: what are you going to do with all of this, all of these insights that you've gained, or what do you do with them? Whatever is
Well, I think
appropriate.
I feel quite privileged to be able to have this situation where I'm not a qualified doctor, and I'm actually, I'm there, and people actually entrust me with, with listening to them and telling me, often quite private information, and I think they know that I'm there to help, to help them out. That to me is something that I'm just building up this constantly building up this picture, if you like. It's almost like a library in my mind of things that just flesh out my knowledge, and I just want to be able to continue to find out new ways of trying to help people, and I think constant learning. And it's all about learning.
Yes,
it's all about learning, and that's great.
And it's immensely relevant and useful for us for what we do. So it's great
Absolutely.
background for that.
Absolutely, and I think that diet and what we eat is also for me such a big part of it. And if I can help people to make healthier food choices
And to get excited about
and get
it,
excited
natural
about it,
food
then
made it,
that's fabulous.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you.